Today, we are going to analyze the second part of the animation Inside Out 2. This animated film is the 10th best-selling film in history and the only animation whose sales exceeded $1 billion in less than a month. This part deals with the world of adulthood and examines what exactly is our identity. Let's look at the difference between this episode and the previous episode to find out what the message of this story was. In the previous part, the mission was to bring back all the memories, and finally, Riley was supposed to realize that all emotions are useful, and no emotion should be suppressed. In that story, they showed that overcoming difficulties is only possible with the help of sadness. If this feeling is suppressed, difficulties will crush us. In this episode, we understand that Riley learned the subject very well. First, we saw that Riley is a sympathetic character. When her friend vandalized the class, she quickly went to help her. Because we saw in the previous episode that after going through the immigration experience, Riley's character changed a little and the character of grief became more prominent, and empathy is a subset of the feeling of sadness. That's why Riley's character is an empathetic character. And apart from the fact that she understands the feeling of sadness well, when she found out in the car that her other friends were going to go to another high school, she cried right there in the car. On the other hand, she didn't suppress her feelings either. That moment she felt alone. She started to cry and had no problem with shedding tears. So she realizes that she has learned the message of the previous episode very well. But as soon as she gets out of the car, she realizes that she is going to learn another new lesson. She is going to enter high school. This means that this series is going to be the story of Riley's transition from childhood to adulthood. Riley has created a false identity for herself, repressing bad memories. Like the previous episode, the main villain of the story suppressed the feeling of sadness in the previous 2 episodes of Joey. This series has built a device and throws out every memory that it thinks is bad and tries to forget it. She does not allow bad memories to become a part of her identity and opens the way for anxiety. Identity is the perception that we have of our own personality. What do we think about ourselves? This belief affects a lot of our behavior and forms a part of our personality, which, by the way, is shown very beautifully in the animation. The shape of musical strings shows that the sound of these strings is constantly played in our heads, and each string repeats a sound and creates our identity. But what's wrong with Riley's identity? The proper identity of childhood is the things she made in her mind. I am the best. I am a very good ruler. I am very kind. I am a very good friend. Everything is very good, and now she has entered the new high school with this identity. Where her friends distanced her, she had to find new friends, and the disastrous events happened here when she joined the hockey team and is the youngest in terms of age. Now she has nothing to say in front of people who are older than him, and she is not good enough. Now, the conditions outside are not compatible with the identity she had. That is why this animation sold so well. Because, according to the reports given by the media, many families watched this animation several times together with their own children who reached the age of puberty. Because puberty is the age when children suddenly enter the society of adults, and then they feel that they are far behind the society, and this creates a lot of problems for them. And on the other hand, during puberty, a series of important events happen in the brain, the natural events that are preparing the child to enter the society. For example, she showed one of the examples exactly in the animation. The fact that the family island had become so small was of little importance. On the other hand, the role of her friend or the society was very prominent. At this age, a series of emotions play a more prominent role in order to prepare a person to enter the society. In the analysis of the previous episode, we said that some scientists believe that we have 5 main senses. Of course, there is a difference of opinion, but now the theory that Pixar used, the theory that says we have 5 main senses, the same 5 that are in the first part, and then the rest of our feelings are obtained from the combination of these 5 senses. Just like colors. The same monitor that you are watching this video from consists of only 3 main colors. Millions of colors can be made by combining different spectrums of these 3 colors. It is the same in feelings. Dozens of other feelings can be created from the combination of these feelings. For example, the feeling of anxiety, which is rooted in the feeling of fear. His job is to scare us of the events that have not happened yet and take care of us like this. In the previous part, we said that each of these 5 main senses of appearance originated from something. For example, we said that Joey's character was inspired by the star. It is the only character that shines and has no shadow. The character of anxiety, just like the character of fear, is inspired by a nerve, such as the nerve of the tooth. Another emotion that occurs during puberty is the feeling of shame, which is a subset of the feeling of sadness. That's why shyness helped sadness in the end, because they both understand each other, and if you were to pay attention, sadness's character's attitude was different when shyness came for the first time. The job of this feeling is to prevent us from doing something in the group that will ruin our character in front of others. The appearance of this character was also inspired by the blushing of the face. When we are all embarrassed, our face turns red. Another feeling in this world is the feeling of jealousy. Its job is to see what kind of backwardness we have towards the society and encourage us to bring ourselves to the society faster. Jealousy's appearance is also due to the lack of design and the fact that she is very small and the only character who has 4 fingers, so that she is incomplete compared to the others. It is interesting to know that jealousy is one of the most complex feelings that a human has. It is obtained from the combination of fear, anger, sadness, and humiliation, and now the humiliation itself is a combination of different feelings. Another feeling that comes to her during puberty is the feeling that he was called, and his personality was French. His job is to make people bored so that they don't get stuck in everyday life. After doing a routine job for a while, they get tired and quickly go to experience something new and settle in the society faster. Of course, in this animation, these feelings appeared now. This kind of showing the story is a metaphor for the fact that his role has become more prominent now. Because if you paid attention, there was also a nostalgic character, and he was told to leave now or soon and come back in 10 years. These feelings exist, but at a certain time, their role becomes more prominent. If you pay attention, when the anxiety first came to the character, he said, "I am one of your biggest fans. I have known you for years, so it is clear that these things existed before, but now their role has become more prominent. And if you pay attention, in the animation of this site, there is a place in the brain." Showing Riley's father the memories that were behind him, most of them were orange, means that the anxiety was there at the same time in episode 1. Because if you remember, Riley's father had started a startup at that time and he was very stressed, but later putting it in this part showed his anxiety. To show this needs for new feelings in the scene in a symbolic way, where Riley showed us her old t-shirts that she brought from the previous episode, which had all 5 colors of her emotions, plus the color of anxiety. Then showing that it has become small for her, this symbol that now Riley needs more emotions. Then we said that Riley's identity was not suitable for the adult environment. Her identity said that I am very good and perfect, but the environment was an environment that had very little Riley in it. That's why Riley's brain did the same thing it did in the previous episode, which is suppressing emotions. We said that the brain has a part called the frontal lobe. What is his job? His job is to come and check the feelings to see if it is in harmony with the outside environment or not. If it is not coordinated, it feels and oppresses. In the previous series, because the environment was sad, the brain suppressed the feeling of happiness while absolutely not allowing fear to come out. This set of feelings that kept her fit for society and banished the feelings that made up Riley's false identity. So that the incident that happened in the locker room that almost got Riley in trouble will not happen again. But if Riley had created the right identity for herself, there would never have been a need to suppress the feelings that we are now examining what the right identity is. If you pay attention, in the real world, the entire color of the environment changes to orange. The color of the chairs, the uniform of the hockey team, the rally, the environment of the dressing room, and even the room where you go to have fun. Everything orange, without exception, shows that Riley is looking at the entire environment in a state of anxiety, and this is one of the characteristics of feeling anxious. When it enters the brain, you cannot feel anything else. It affects all other senses. It occupies your whole brain, and there is no more time to express other feelings. And show this feature of anxiety in another place in the animation. Where Riley was brooding in the real world, it means rumination. That is, she was constantly thinking about the problems that had not happened yet. Problems that Riley had no control over. For example, what does the coach think about her? Riley has no control over it. Thinking about this issue for hours in a row makes it consume a lot of energy from the brain, and the bad thing about rumination is that it is completely fruitless. It means that you think about the problems for 100 hours, and you will not reach a result in the end. This is the characteristic of anxiety, that if you have this problem, if you understand the message part of this story, you may be able to get relief from rumination. Simultaneously with this rumination, in the real world, in the world in Riley's head, the character of anxiety was shown like dictators, who was trying to take over Riley's imagination for rumination, which was inspired by this scene which was hysterical in itself. Riley was imagining what jobs she would like in the future. For example, cook, judge, lawyer. One of the jobs she had in mind was an astronaut, which refers to Big Bang's character who, when Riley was playing with her imaginary friend, wished to travel to the moon, and Big Bang's last request to Joe was to make Riley go to the moon. Big Bang was another animation. When they showed the room, the statue of Big Bang was in the corner of the picture. It showed that Joe never forgot Big Bang. Next, we saw that Riley defines a new identity for herself. This new identity did not include all aspects of Riley's personality, only the anxiety aspect. As a result, it caused behavior that was not in harmony with Riley's original identity. For example, she behaved against her friends. This new identity was being created because it was rooted in anxiety, and the main root at all. My anxiety comes from the voice that I am not good enough. That's why when this new identity was created for Riley, this voice kept repeating in her mind, and because she had lost her identity, she tried to imitate others, from the way they walked to the color of their hair, and then the scene. It is very important to see that Riley is doing something that completely contradicts her identity in the final competition, that she makes a mistake on her friend. This conflict that she is experiencing in reality causes a panic attack or a nervous attack, like the previous episode where Riley experienced depression, and we saw how it was portrayed. The fact that the keyboard screen they were working with turned black and stopped working, which was a very creative illustration. Now to be as creative as possible for a nervous attack. If you were careful to take the place of that anxiety to prevent her from using the keyboard screen so much, then Joey avoided the anxiety and couldn't catch it. What was the reason? It was because anxiety is not proven here. Here, the speed of moving anxiety is so high that it exceeds the speed of our iframe. That's why it stays in place. But in practice, it is moving at a very high speed. The vibrations that occur in the image are also due to this issue. This is exactly the definition of a nervous breakdown. That is, the brain begins to process a large number of thoughts at the same time. The way that a person who has a nervous attack freezes. Even though her brain has hundreds of thoughts and checks at the same time, she can't take any action. What was the reason for the attack? We said that the identity Riley created for herself was childish. She had forgotten the negative aspects of her personality. She only believed in an ideal man. She thought that in order to be a good person, she should consider only the positive aspects of her life. She tried to forget her faults and mistakes. That's why when she entered the society, Her brain suppressed that painful childish identity. In times like this, anxiety fills that void and creates an identity with the assumption that we are not good enough. Instead of coming back and saying that I came to the seniors, I should try harder to become a better player. It was only repeated in her mind that I am not well. Even though she scored 2 goals, she showed her capabilities, but she still said that I am not good. Notice how accurate the rendering was. At that time, when Riley was playing and was worried, she could not see the light properly. If you paid attention to the sound, you could not hear the children's voices at all. The sound of the ball, the sound of movement. You only hear the sound in your head, and from that side, you could not see the faces of the other players properly, or if you could see the faces, you could not understand the feelings on their faces. But when Riley experienced a nervous breakdown, when could she get rid of this problem? When the emotions can return to a main center, when they let all those repressed memories enter the identity part. In this way, all the bad memories that Riley had repressed, like the day she stole her mother's card, or the day she got a warning in hockey, they all became part of her identity. And here Joey realized the mistake she had made and realized that she had tried to do the exact same thing. Anxiety has done. As a result, she threw away that useless childish identity. She made Riley accept all her flaws. A new identity was created while carrying all of Riley's flaws with it. And then that scene where all the emotions came to hug, that new identity, and that was a metaphorical movement. Because Riley accepted herself. Whatever she is, she accepted herself for who she is with all her flaws. In her new identity, she said that I am a kind person. She said that I am jealous. She said that I like hockey, and she told me that I am not good enough. Riley accepted all these conditions, so she got better. She was able to confess to her friend what she was feeling, and when she returned to the game, if you were careful, you could recognize the light. Then the voice completely changed. You could hear the sound of the environment, the sound of the ball, the referee's whistle, and then we could see the faces of the people in the picture who were smiling, and their feelings could be recognized. And here a very important scene happened, which is the message of the story, that the atmospheric lights towards drag the keyboard. It showed that Riley was now living in the moment. She was competing there, but at the same time she was enjoying playing hockey. She was experiencing something she had never had before. The next scene is very important. When a few days have passed since the race, the Riley has been completely resolved in the society. She no longer needs to dye her hair or imitate the behavior of others. She has her own personality, and her friends tell her that she might fail this year. And Riley also said that it doesn't matter at all. I can try my luck next year. The message of the story does not ask us to be careless. Let's accept our own flaws like this. By the way, anxiety is necessary. The end of positive anxiety. They show us exactly what positive anxiety is right there. Anxiety is still in Riley's brain. Then she starts to get scared again, and Joey comes there, calms her down, and puts it on her face. He tells her on the chair not to be afraid of something that we have no control over. Just fear the things we have control over. This is called positive anxiety. In the story, Riley once again experiences positive anxiety when she thinks that she is not good enough. As a result, she woke up 1 hour earlier in the morning and went 1 hour earlier than others to start her training to fix her flaws. And the message of the story was exactly that. If Riley had all the bad memories of her past as her identity, would accept the goal is to try. That's why when they told Riley that we might fail this year, she said it's okay. The important thing was that I did my best. That is, the message of her story was very similar to the previous episode. In the previous episode, she was supposed to understand that all my feelings, in this episode, she should have realized that she should love herself with all her flaws, and then try to be her best self. Takeaway. It doesn't matter. It's the effort that matters. And then there was that scene where the camera showed her checking her email, and then we couldn't see what she wrote in the email. It is one of the old techniques of cinema. When a protagonist starts an adventure to reach a goal, and so much happens along the way that the goal loses its importance, then the camera does not show the result. Or, so to speak, in this situation, the film has an open ending. For example, the movie Inception and that famous curl. Well, friends, this is from today's video. Probably, the animation Inside Out 3 will be made in 2 years, and you can be sure that the third part will definitely include the character of love, and this time it will have a message for adults.
If you find value in this story, please like, share, and comment in below. Follow for more known histories.